Hi, I'm Kevin Lee, co-founder of Did It. Did It's a digital agency that acquired a bunch of companies, including the Halo Group, the site you're on right now. First of all, I wanted to answer the question for you, which is, what does the triple hash mean at the end of a press release? It's actually quite simple. It means you're at the end of the press release. But I think the more important question to ask yourself is, why are you doing a press release, and what are you trying to get out of it? So let me start with a story that will help illustrate perhaps a little bit of a different strategy you might want to employ when it comes to press releases. A couple of years ago, I was looking to sell my Fire Island house. Fire Island is a vacation community right on the beach. I had this oceanfront house, invested quite a bit of money into it, and I wanted to get rid of it. So I thought a little bit of PR would be a good idea, but I couldn't pitch a reporter on my house. I wouldn't have been able to get them to write a story about my house. So I had to think about, what do I pitch to an editor or reporter where my house is part of the story so that I can get the house into the story. So my number one target really was the Wall Street Journal Mansions section. The Mansions section comes out in the beginning of the summer. It comes out a couple times a year, I think, but certainly the beginning of the summer or early summer. And I pitched the editor there on this idea, which is entirely true, that a lot of properties on Fire Island are getting heavily invested in. It's no longer just the Hamptons where people want to go in the summer. It's the same beach, it's a barrier beach along the South Shore of Long Island. And the point I was making to her is that a lot of folks are investing a lot of money into these oceanfront properties, including myself. I wanted to make sure I got a story that would resonate with the editor. And then my house could be a part of it, or it might not be. But I knew that if the story resonated with her, there was a pretty good chance. So she decided to cover the story. And we got a picture of the interior of the house right there on the front cover of the mansion section. They sent out a photographer. They've got pictures of myself and my family. And we got some amazing coverage in the Wall Street Journal Mansion section. And that's pretty tough to do. Obviously, we got that coverage in print, and we got it digitally as well. But it didn't stop there. On the inside of the mansion section, we've got another picture of my house, another picture looking out in my house, this same shot that's up on the screen here that showed up online. And the story's not about my house. The story is about investment going on Fire Island into building up the properties and building luxury housing there. And so my house just factored perfectly into that story. But that wasn't the only pitch I was making. I also wanted to get into the New York Times, I wanted to get into the New York Post, and I wanted to get into the Daily News, and I wanted to get into Newsday. Well, I didn't get into Newsday or the New York Times or the Daily News, but I did get into the New York Post. This article here, Tour the Funkiest Houses on Fire Island, completely different pitch. I didn't want to use the same pitch for both editors, right? I wanted to come up with a pitch that would resonate with the editor, resonate with the reporter, and allow my house to factor into the story. So in this case, I actually used my architect as the center point of the story, because he not only designed my house, which was again featured very prominently in the article, but he also designed a bunch of other houses. And his style is really interesting. He actually will do whatever style you want. But in that article, not only is my house featured very prominently, but another one of his houses. And I'm perfectly happy to get PR for somebody else along with getting PR for myself, right? It's really more about what is the story and helping the reporter tell the story. So sometimes you're lucky enough where your company or yourself is actually worthy of being a story in and of itself. However, that's rare. Unless you're publicly traded or venture-backed, or you're in an unusual business, usually you can't be the center of the story. So sometimes you're lucky enough to be the center of the story. The other factor about PR that you should think about as you're doing PR and as you're drafting press releases is, do not think about them as a hit and a win. Think about them as evergreen. Because a press release, or more importantly, the story that comes out of a press release or comes out of press outreach, it's there permanently. The internet is there forever, right? So you guys showed up at a blog post that's ranked #1 for triple hash for a long, long time, right? That's there forever. Now, that wasn't necessarily PR per se, but the point is that anytime you get a PR hit, it's there forever. So a couple of years ago, I had this crazy idea to try to buy Gawker.com and take the old Gawker, turn it into Gawker for Good, and give half the ad revenues to nonprofits based on the readers' and writers' choices. So I was the leading bidder for a long time, and I got a ton of PR as a result. So if you Google me and Gawker, you'll see tons and tons of PR that we got along the way. Now, that was a rare situation. I've been in marketing for 26 years. I never had reporters call me, right? I always had to pitch stories to reporters, or my team did. But in this case, I got called by reporters all the time because obviously Gawker is very newsworthy, particularly within the journalism community. So I got a ton of PR. But the point I'm trying to make is the evergreen nature of this PR, right? If you do a search on me, a lot of times some of this Gawker-related stuff will show up. And as far as the Fire Island story, if you search Fire Island Mansion, the image still shows up there of the hit in the Wall Street Journal from 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago. So don't overly narrowly think about your PR as just PR. Think about it more holistically. One of the things that we do in my teams is we try to think about PR as an element of an entire earned media strategy, right? Earned media is any media you're not paying for directly. In other words, it's not advertising, right? So traditional PR, digital PR, public affairs, and influencer marketing, where you're just trying to have influencers do things for you for free, that's all free earned media. That's digital PR, traditional PR. But it dovetails really well with SEO, and it dovetails really well with social media. When you get a PR hit, you don't leave it alone. You try to leverage it in social media. You also try to make sure you get a link back to your website from the perspective of SEO. The other reason it's important from an SEO perspective is that PR hit may be there in the search engine results page, what they call the SERP, for a long, long time. And you want your company to dominate the search engine results page for all positive mentions of yourself. And this is true for your company. This is true for executives in your company. Part of good SEO is not just making your own site rank well, but making content about you that mentions you in a positive context rank well. And part of that is making sure that you use your PR effectively as part of that strategy. You can even reuse some earned media PR when you're doing paid influencer marketing by using the halo effect that you got by being covered in a major publication. So don't think of these things in silos. They don't belong in silos. They actually belong dovetailed with each other, with a strategist helping you think through all the different ways that you can use PR when you get PR and all the different ways you can leverage it together. And even paid media then enters into the picture, right? If you get good PR coverage, you can use paid media to amplify that. So if you post about your PR in social, you can use paid social to amplify it. Paid search, paid advertising, influencer marketing, native advertising, all that stuff can potentially be used as well in tandem. But please don't think about PR as being in a silo. Larger organizations in particular tend to still leave PR and earned media in a silo. The world is changing. It's not black and white anymore. Your best strategy is going to be one where you think about it holistically and you leverage all the benefits you can get from PR. And when you think about that going into your PR strategy, you end up doing better PR. You end up thinking about what the editors want. You end up helping them do their job. You end up helping create or co-create great content. And it just works out much better. So I don't know if you need an agency to help you or not. If you do and you want a great team, including myself, who can take your PR to the next level, we'd be happy to help. I'm easy to find. Kevin.Lee@didit.com. Didit is the parent company for the Halo Group, the site you're on now. My phone number's here as well. And I'll just leave you with a fact. I mean, this stuff is super fun to do when you're successful. And if you do it right, you're much more likely to be successful. So it's a lot of fun. Have fun with your earned media and PR adventures. Try to break out of your silos a little bit and have fun with it, because you're going to have a much more successful campaign. Thanks. Stay safe.